Still forming up using the 1x1 grid order, unlike the Ginettas.
The Miltech Sport Volkswagen Racing Cup about to get underway. It's round 14 of their 2015 championship. Phil House is there on pole position on the left-hand side as we look at it. Alongside him on the front row is Joe McMillan, Joe Fulbrook and Jack Walker-Tully on row 2. Then you've got Robert Barrable and Bobby Thompson on the third row of the grid. Lights are on. Lights are out, and it's a very good start from Phil House. He's going to easily hold the lead. A little dart to the inside in the middle of the pack there. I think that might have been David Sutton, who got a rocket ship start and has made up places already. But it's House who leads on the run down towards Riches. It's tuck-ending to second place there, Joe McMillan, as they all filter through. And yes, there goes David Sutton already past Aaron Mason. So he's up into the top 8 already is David Sutton. But a good advantage being held up at the front. And now look at Sutton there in the black car, going all the way around the outside at the hairpin. Didn't really gain too many positions as he then comes into the left-hander and looping around. And it wasn't a good run for David Sutton yesterday or today, because he missed qualifying whilst he was at a wedding, so he had to start yesterday's race from the back of the grid and is now trying to climb up the order, and he's doing a pretty decent job of it so far. So Jack Walker-Tully there going past Joe Fulbrook into third position. So Walker-Tully in the number 99 car manages to go through. He's in a previous championship winning car. James Walker, his cousin, won the 2012 title in that machine, and now Jack Walker-Tully's up into third spot. But up at the front, Phil House has broken away very, very rapidly indeed as the rest of the pack squabble coming through Williams and out onto the start-finish straight again. There's Michael Epps, the 23-year-old from Hemel Hempstead in the number 12 Team Hard car. He was started on pole position for the final race of the weekend at Brands Hatch last time out and managed to take the victory.
Yeah, it's all awfully polite, isn't it? The first couple of as well. A couple of floppies are dying, but that's about it. And yeah, it's been really polite through the first couple of corners of this race, and we'll see how things transpire. But House has led away at the front and barely been challenged. I expected much more rough stuff in the first part of a front-wheel drive race. As a little bit of a lock-up into the final corner of Russell, but he's got this one well under control, hasn't he, Phil House?
Yep, absolutely. Very good start from House, the man from Ripley, and he comes across the line, closely followed at the moment by Joe McMillan, who's in his home race. The man from Wisbeach is just 0.4 of a second behind Phil House at the moment as they come into the right-hander at Riches, the Cobra Engineering run car, and there you can see Aaron Mason and Michael Epps doing battle. Oh, there's very, very close to a touch there as Jack Walker-Tully is under pressure from the... Sorry, it's Robert Barrable under pressure from David Sutton. Sutton trying to go all the way around the outside of the hairpin, has to take a bit of grass, but still I think we'll get this move done, which will put him up into fifth position, which would be an excellent start. So by in the time he's done a lap and a half, he's gone from 11th to 5th, so very good work from David Sutton. That's the reason he's leading the championship.
Yeah, slippery surface flag down into this section of the racetrack. Hope that doesn't catch anybody out. Sometimes they put those out just for debris, as well as, for example, something on the circuit. It would appear not this time, though, because it looks slippery down there, and now it's getting aggressive in the midfield as we see this battle at the front. House losing out a little bit of ground to McMillan up front. Yep. And let's see if he can do anything as they head out onto the Bentley straight for the second time.
Yep, certainly looks as though McMillan has managed to close in on House a little more as they spread out through Williams. There's Bobby Thompson, who was the man getting involved in that little bit of rough and tumble. I think it was Aaron Mason that he was doing battle with, but here it's Phil House having to go defensive on the run down into Brundle and Nelson. But you can... If you get it right, you can defend into Brundle without it really affecting you into Nelson.
Yeah, absolutely. You can kind of park the car in the middle of the road. Where you do tend to lose out a little bit is on the exit, but then it's a really short round down to the bomb hole, and nobody's going to be out braking you there because you barely do. So it's it's a good place. It's a difficult place on the racetrack to pass. That's for sure.
So there's a look at the last lap, but that was, of course, the start lap of the race, and 0.4 of a second between them, and then it's everyone else in the battle over third place. Jack Walker-Tully is still at the head of that field over third position, but he has got Joe Fulbrook right up behind him. Fulbrook, who ended up upside down last time out at Brands Hatch. Let's go 3 wide down towards turn 1, shall we? It's David Sutton on the inside line, Michael Epps in the middle, and around the outside goes Aaron Mason of one of them, maybe past 2 of them as they come down now towards the Montreal hairpin, squeezes him towards the inside. Robust work from Mason, but he's done a very robust, if very effective job of getting through now up into 5th position after all of that. 2 places around the outside, it's riches.
Absolutely, and very disciplined from the guys behind him not to assist him wide down into the Montreal hairpin. Fair play to them. It would have been super easy just to use that front bumper just to ease him onto an alternative line and take the position back. That may occur here though, down into the second hairpin at Agostini.
I think Lucas Orrock's got a bit of bonnet flappage as he comes out towards Hamilton. The front of it just nosing up and down a little bit. Hopefully that won't affect him too much as Thompson tries to make a move now and make a place. Bobby Thompson dropped down to 10th place. Now he's trying to get back past Orrock up into 9th position. So, yeah, a very calm first lap, but now it's getting a little bit busier in this half an hour race. 24 minutes still remaining. And it's a half-hour race because there's only 2 races this weekend at Snetterton. Normally they have 3 15-minuters, but 3 20-minuters, but now they have 2 half-an-hour tours of this circuit. Still nose to tail for the lead. Phil House ahead of Joe McMillan. Third place then coming through is Fulbrook. So Fulbrook is ahead of Walker-Tully now, and then it's everyone else.
And this is not the position that Phil House is accustomed to this year. He's far from been dominating the championship. It's not been House every weekend for him. he's out front of the series, and but no, it's great to see new guys coming to the front and delivering good performances. Sutton, who leads the championship, is
You're proud of that one, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I am proud of that one. Has found himself in the midfield and really needs to make progress here. As you said, it's going to be difficult for him to pick up this second championship with performances like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Sutton who is leading the way in terms of the championship, 8 points clear of Aaron Mason. So Mason at the moment is 5th. And Sutton is only up into 9th place. So in all that shenanigans, Sutton has kind of got shuffled back down after making his way up to 5th in the early stages. So now we've got side by side between Lucas Orrock and Michael Epps. It's Orrock on the inside in that 33 car, Epps on the outside, former Formula V racer, getting squeezed out of the position. So that means that Orrock's up to 6th, Epps is down to 7th. And it's all over the shop, really. If you want to follow it on live timing, you can do at tsl-timing.com, and then you can keep up to date with exactly what positions everyone's in. Because
to be honest, with the delay on the timing, I think you'd be late anyway.
Well, yeah.
The shuffling of the positions is so frantic in the midfield, but it's great. It's great racing. Great to see people enjoying themselves in race cars. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's I thought that was going to be a little bit of a lunge up the inside there from Lucas Orrock. He wasn't quite close enough, and Michael Epps getting rudely pushed onto the grass, and as a result he loses momentum and a couple of positions does Michael Epps. And then up the inside comes Robert Barrable. Is he going to put onto a bit more grass? He keeps his foot in though, still side by side with Barrable as they come down the back stretch. Joining the party is Howard Fuller in the 22 car as they come down towards Brundle and Nelson. Still House leading the way, and then you've got in 3rd place Joe Fulbrook ahead of Walker-Tully. There is championship leader David Sutton. So Sutton is still behind Mason, but not enough for it to be a disaster for his championship hopes.
And the front two really starting to stretch their legs, probably aided by this little bit of tussling which is going on behind. They're not really attacking each other, about half a second difference between House and McMillan at the front. And you can see them there just ticking off the laps. They're doing exactly what they need to do. The big question will be, with 2 purple sectors on the last lap, will McMillan be able to get up to the back of Phil House towards the end of this race?
He closed in by a 10th of a second on that previous lap, as you say, with purples in sector 1 and 2. But, you know, a 10th here and there isn't going to make the difference just yet. This might, though, because he is right up behind Joe McMillan, looking to the outside line. Started racing in junior hot rods and Sax Max and he's now in his second season of VWs. We're on board with our race leader Phil House, who's looking in his mirrors a little bit. Nice retro balaclava there, the one down over the nose. Don't see that much very often.
Very 60s Grand Prix, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. On the brakes into the left-hander. His helmet's a bit Thierry Boutsen as well, but I don't want to get bogged down in that whole discussion as he gets on the brakes, coming out of Agostini and then into Palmer's through the left, running on the curbs on the exit.
He's having to be very, very patient with his application of lock so he doesn't saturate that front tyre, dealing with braking, turning, power on. The front axle does everything in these cars. Looking after that front axle is really, really important for these guys as this race wears on.
Michael Epps has got a bit wound up after being pushed onto the grass. He's just at the fastest first sector of anyone this time around, with less than 20 minutes to go here in the VW Racing Cup event here on Motors TV. After this, we've got a single-seater action with the Duo BRDC Formula 4 Championship, then a Ginetta GT5 Challenge race, and then our final race of the day, the Avon Tyres British GT Championship, with their second race of the day as they swing round the right-hander. These are our race leaders. House ahead of Macmillan. It was 0.4 of a second at the end of the last lap, but House seems to have got his focus now and pulled a bit of a gap.
Yeah, it's ebbing and flowing between these two guys, isn't it? As they place their cars around this Snetterton circuit, and it appears one will make a little mistake. One will, and when two drivers are at it like this, they're not just chilling out, following each other. It's never like that. It's like an absolute grind. It's like, it's sparring. You just can't see it so obviously, so visually, but they are absolutely flat to the boards. It's one of the most difficult things to do as a racing driver is follow someone who's a similar pace to you, lap after lap after lap after lap, without making any errors and giving them any.
Oh, that's getting busy in there. Absolutely right. But that's Aaron Mason going into the back of Lucas Orrock and grabbing himself a souvenir off the rear of that VW. It all came because they were queued up behind Walker Tully, who was quite early on the brakes, and everyone kind of concertinaed into one another there. So this middle pack must be difficult to race in as well, because you've got to look forward, you've got to look behind you, you've got to look to the side of you as well at times. Oh, a bit of a squeaky lock up there from Bobby Thompson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to react to everyone, but this is very instinctive. It's you put your car, you make a split-second decision. Following somebody lap after lap without making any errors is quite mentally tough, as we see someone go wide in Hamilton. This is going to get messy.
That was Orrock running wide, and then everyone trying to pile through on the inside. Aaron Mason is involved in that fight, but somehow, despite running out wide, Orrock has managed to hold on to the position. Then it's Michael Epps, then it's Aaron Mason. So this is all the battle over 5th place now, because Jack Walker-Tully has stretched his advantage a little bit. So there's our top two. Then we've got 3 and 4, Fulbrook and Walker-Tully, and now the queue over 5th position, which is currently being held by the 33 car of Lucas Orrock, with the 12 of Michael Epps right behind. Then number 8, Aaron Mason, in behind him in 7th position.
Yeah, an interesting debate on the redesign of the rear bodywork of a Scirocco from that group on poor Orrock, but he's managing to stay strong. And in this kind of racing, it's rough and tumble. It's touring car style racing. You've got to get used to, sometimes guys are going to touch you, sometimes guys are going to hit you, and you've got to be able to do, take those little knocks without letting it ruin your race, and that's what Orrock's doing right now.
Absolutely. So here comes Orrock across the line.
I mean, the bonnet's half off, and he's got no rear bodywork, but he's still there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's all about as they come down into Riches. So House and Macmillan still only separated by 0.6 of a second. Fulbrook and Walker-Tully separated by 0.8, and then it's this gap back to Orrock, Epps, Mason, Bobby Thompson. David Sutton has ended up. Oh, big lunge up the inside from Michael Epps to try and get past Lucas Orrock. That was bold, and there was contact between them. They're still going side by side as they come towards Palmer's now, and Orrock holds onto the place. Epps will try and get more speed through, and he might have given him a little bit of a nudge there on the exit, and he'll try and hold the inside line on the run down into the hairpin at Agostini. We know he's brave on the brakes there, Michael Epps, and through he goes. So Epps up into 5th place, and that all started with his assault down at the hairpin.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming out a little bit quicker than Orrock, and down into that first hairpin, just lunged, got into the side of him a little bit, but he was there, to be fair. He was there, and you don't get there without, the overspeed. So he arrived. Yes, it was slightly robust, but the ending move was very clean into the second hairpin.
Coming up to 15 minutes to go, so almost at the halfway point of this VW Racing Cup action, round 14 of the championship, and Joe McMillan has closed in once again on Phil House up in front, down towards the bomb hole.
Yeah, interesting to see how these guys have managed their tyres through the whole race. There's an invisible process going on that we can't see, which is what they're feeling underneath their fingertips of how much rubber they've got left to play with in the final minutes of this race, and we'll find out who's done a good job in the closing laps.
Yep, certainly will. And so we hit the 15-minute mark. 15 minutes to go. And let's see who was the quicker of these two across the line this time. It was McMillan by a 10th on the last tour, and again it was McMillan by a 10th on this tour too, so they're still running absolutely nose to tail, and they've got a massive advantage over Joe Fulbrook in third, 7.5 seconds, and then it's Epps in fifth, Orrock, Mason, Thompson, Sutton, Barrable, Fuller, Rudd all coming across the line together, and then there's a bit of a gap back to Snellam in 13th place, then Tomlinson and Tillett, Littler, Duncan, Ewing and Meccano and Andrews completing the top 20. And well, seeing as I've done the top 20, I'll do Wilson and De Hadre as well, completing our top 22 of all the drivers that started the race. Back on board with our race leader, Phil House, for the PH Motorsport Scirocco, the 2002 Monoposto champion. And his best result last year was a 6th position at Rockingham, and now he finds himself a little bit of a shake of the head there, a little bit of a mistake.
No, I think he's that might have been a comment on the condition of his front tyres. I was just about to comment actually that you can see how much more lock he's now having to use to turn the car, and he's having to hold it on ever so long while he applies the power, and it's a double whammy then, because not only are you struggling for pace initially, but then you damage the tyre more and more. You need more and more lock to turn it. You damage the tyre more and more, and then you just go slower and slower and slower.
Absolutely. So shifts up a gear, has a little look in the mirror, and drives down the middle of the road on the run down to Brundle and Nelson. It's actually a really good opportunity if McMillan can try and go all the way around the outside. Wasn't quite as far as the long side as I thought he might be, but he's really starting to put House under pressure, and you can see House glancing at the wing mirror. As soon as you start to see a driver shaking his head, does that mean he's in a negative frame of mind and he's done for, or?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's obviously some things. You're very, very reactive when you're in the car, and if something annoys you, then perhaps you might just shake your head, and by 3 corners, by the time you're in the middle of Coram, you've forgotten about it. But yeah, it's never good, and you want to always keep a positive frame of mind in the car if you can, and because it's just good business. It's just good housekeeping. There's no reason to be fretting. You can't change it. Get on with it.
Well, currently, House is keeping his lead, just less than half a second in front of McMillan. The gap came down by a couple of tenths. This is Aaron Mason, who's involved in this frantic action. He's just in front of Bobby Thompson as they come down. Oh, a little dip onto the grass there for Robert Barrable. Twelve minutes to go here at Snetterton in round 14 of the Miltech Sport Volkswagen Racing Cup, and it's Phil House who's leading the way, just clear of Joe McMillan in second position. Then it's an 8-second gap back to Joe Fulbrook, who's fairly lonely in third place, before it all kicks up behind him with Michael Epps, Lucas Orrock, Aaron Mason all together, and that is not good news for Matthew Wilson. He was running down in 21st place,
and that's a very, very interesting place to park a stricken race car as well. I think that probably on the exit of the bomb hole, and that is not where you want to be. Whether he spun that and ended up there, because if he's broken down, he needs a stern talking to about how to park a broken race car. As the leaders now come round to that section of the track, and let's hope they're being adequately warned from the marshal's post. I'm sure they are.
There are the marshals there,
and
on the
very, very
circuit.
Mature and clever driving from those two leaders, and I would back away from that too, lads.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that he'd
especially as this gang is coming through. Ooh, Goodness me, that is not a happy place, is it? As they swing through, oh goodness me.
So, I think a safety guard potentially required for that one.
That was Howard Fuller.
Unless they can get that one moved, because that is a very, very precarious place to be parked on the exit of the bottom hole. Unsighted for the drivers as they come through from the S's, and really, really difficult to spot a car on the exit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a real shame there for Matthew Wilson. So whilst we've got that on the track, we will have a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
On track, on road, on Avons.
Right now, it's Virgin Media's hottest ever sale. Get our best ever price for your first year on our Big Easy bundle with a massive 40% off every month for 12 months. You get award-winning fibre broadband, it's the fastest according to the experts, and you'll also get unlimited downloads. Plus TV with TiVo, so you can record 3 shows at once while watching a 4th you recorded earlier. So that's fibre broadband, TV with TiVo and calls for just $12.99 a month for 12 months. Join today to get the best ever bundle price on our Big Easy bundle for your first year in our hottest ever sale. Call 0800 052 1060 or visit virginmedia.com.
Aviva Multicar gave me a busting deal on my car insurance and a third off my wife's. So I bought these. Apparently, there are better things in life to spend money on than chest waders. Not if you're up to your nicky-nacky nose trout fishing nettings.
Save up to a third when you insure a second car with 5-star Aviva Multicar.
Don't think all used car warranties are the same, because they're most definitely not. That's why I personally designed this one to be what I believe is the best in the UK. Warranty-wise do lots of things differently. Unlike other warranty firms, we openly publish online exactly how much we pay out in car repairs. Not all warranty companies want to tell you that. Get a quote now. Call 0800 001 4550 or go to warrantywise.co.uk.
If you've suffered an accident, make your voice heard. Call the National Accident Helpline on 0800 556 557 or go to underdog.co.uk.
Munch Bunch is a source of calcium and essential proteins, and it's made only with all natural ingredients. Munch Bunch, helping your kids grow the healthy way.
Featuring the latest from a multitude of series from the world over, The Grid is a not-to-be-missed show on Motors TV. Friday, August 28th, 8:30 in the evening. On track, on road, on Avons.
Welcome back to Snetterton, live coverage of the Miltech Sport Volkswagen Racing Cup here on Motors TV. And whilst it's still nose to tail for the lead of the race, House ahead of Macmillan, it's all kicking off for third position. We've had a change for third place. Michael Epps has managed to get past Joe Fulbrook. He's up into third, so Fulbrook down to fourth, with Lucas Orrock now right up behind Joe Fulbrook. We've only got 7 minutes to go. Alex Brundle alongside me. It was a good move from Epps, similar to what he did on Orrock a couple of laps ago at the hairpin.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got the leading two out front, and it's turned into WWE, hasn't it, for third place, which is absolutely great. These guys are really fighting for this position very, very hard as we come down to the old S's into the left-hander. And defensive work done by Fulbrook at the front, but yeah, Orrock in his redesigned Scirocco with front end and rear end both being sculptured by his adversaries is still out there and still got the pressure on.
Yep, absolutely. So they come through the long right-hander at Coram. So let's see whether Michael Epps now in that 12 car can try and sprint away. You just see that locking up. That's the kind of rear that comes off the ground as they come into the left-hander there.
Yeah, they have got ABS, these cars, but ABS doesn't work very well when the wheel's completely off the floor. So what you're seeing is the wheel just losing contact with the floor and then gaining contact again, similar to when a plane lands. For example, you see a little puff of smoke, and it's just that the driver won't feel that in the car.
Yeah, you can just about see the right rears off the ground as they come through the right-hander at Riches. So down towards the hairpin again, where it all got busy last time, and Epps has gone in pretty deep there. That could give Fullbrook an opportunity. It's Phil House leading the way. Joe McMillan second, 0.7 of a second behind Phil House. Then it's Michael Epps in third in this gaggle here. So it's Epps, then it's the blue and white car of Fullbrook, then it's the red and white car ahead of the other red and white car, Orrock and Mason. And a lot of these guys all racing with Team Hard. Mason's a little different. He's with the AWM squad, third in his debut season back in 2009. He was the 2013 champion, Aaron Mason, and had the most wins of anyone last year, but it was Joe Fullbrook who took the title.
So where do looking at this, where do these guys go next? Well, British touring cars, world touring cars, Clio Cup or similar. They're all some of them amateurs having fun. That's great. Some of them have aspirations towards BTCC or similar, and it's great to see them learning their front wheel drive racing is quite a specific technique and a specific talent. It's good to see them learning and applying it as Phil House chalks off the laps and resists the pressure from Joe McMillan behind, heading into 4.5 minutes to go, plus a lap.
Yes, race. Absolutely. Were T-cars front-wheel drive or were they rear-wheel drive?
No, rear-wheel drive, 2-litre Fords. But Sax Max is where most of these guys kind of start out, or various other forms of club racing, and on their way to continuing to enjoy their motorsport or heading up into a touring car of some sort.
So 4 minutes to go. So I think we are on the penultimate lap of the race, I believe, with 4 minutes left on the clock. House still leading, and then you can see the front left bumper of Aaron Mason just rubbing along the floor a little bit from where it's come loose. He's ahead of Bobby Thompson, and David Sutton has dropped back from this gang after going from 9th to 5th, or 11th to 5th, sorry, in the opening stages. He's now dropped back to a fairly lonely 8th position, which is not going to help his championship chances with his main rival up in 6th position.
And I think the concerning thing for him is that you can have a bad race, you can get biffed off, or you can have a bad handling car, but he's really lacked pace, and really lacked the pace of the leaders by a considerable margin, and that's what will worry him then going into the rest of the season with that championship lead under his belt.
Yep, absolutely. After this, they head to the final race of the season at Donington Park, alongside British GT on the 12th and 13th of September, which of course you're able to see live here on Motors TV, as they wind their way now out onto the Bentley Straight once more. Again, House just covering the middle of the ground, just in case Fullbrook decides to launch an attack, but he's not quite close enough. And
notice he's lost his left-hand wing mirror as well, which is why he might be covering off the middle of the road down into there, because he then I've been in that situation actually, and it's really disconcerting. You end up looking over there at nothing, because you get so kind of conditioned into being able to see what's behind you there. So he's going to have to be checking, for example, round Coram would be a good place, on the position of McMillan when he can see him in that right-hand mirror, having lost the left one. If McMillan's smart, he would have spotted that, and maybe why he's attacking down through that section of the racetrack. But it's not over yet for this leading battle.
No, absolutely not. Across the line they come, onto what I think will be the final lap of the race. Just a 30-minute race, this one. So this is the final tour for our race leader Phil House, who was led from the start. He's been under pressure for the whole of the race, but Joe McMillan has never quite been able to really put a move on.
No, it's ebbed and flowed, hasn't it? And he's reached his exhaust pipe on several occasions, but it's never really been on, barring a lunge, and these two don't need to do that. They're both in for good points in this scenario. The gaggle behind have been scrapping like hell, and these guys are chalking up the laps. But if I know racing drivers as well as I do, then there's no second place consideration here. And for sure, if McMillan can make that move cleanly, then he will. But good respect between these two, pushing each other very hard here, and no doubt they'll get out of these Siroccos with smiles on their faces.
Yep, there's certainly been a tough race up at the front. And if anything, Phil House has kind of extended his advantage on this final lap of the race. The man from Ripley heading down under the Snetterton Bridge and into Brundle and Nelson. Michael Epps has really consolidated that third position now, about a second clear of Joe Fulbrook in fourth. Fulbrook and Orrock still doing battle over that fourth position. So I think the podium positions at the moment reasonably settled, but who will cross the line in fourth, it's up for grabs. McMillan through the long right-hander, second season of VW racing for him, but it's Phil House who's going to take the spoils here as he comes through Murray's for the final time. Checker flag is being readied for Phil House as he wins the 14th round of the Miltech Sport Volkswagen Racing Cup here at Snetterton, and he's a happy man with his hand outside, slapping the top of his roof. Third across the line is going to be Epps. Fourth is going to be Joe Fulbrook, just in front of Lucas Orrock. The two of them separated by just 0.2 of a second at the line. And then everyone else. Aaron Mason 6th, Thompson 7th, Sutton 8th. So championship-wise, it's not really going to have swung it too much, with Sutton and Mason separated by only 8 points at the top of the championship. Walker Tully 9th, Robert Barrable 10th, 11th place for Simon Rudd, 12th place for Howard Fuller. But there is our race winner, waving as he makes his way back around, and it'll be good to hear from Phil House when he gets out the car, because I think he'll say that was a tough race.
Well, I don't think he's got much to say, has he? Never saw anyone.
Yeah. That's only because he didn't have any mirrors, though.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll ask you, was it an open test day? Was anybody else here? Exactly. Great start. Got off pole position very, very well, and managed everything beautifully. So here we go on the finishing order.
Yep, 14 laps of racing, and Phil House takes the victory, a second clear of Joe McMillan in second place. Michael Epps had to work hard for that third place, frantic battle from third down to 10th, but Epps it was who came out on top. Fulbrook in fourth place. Championship leader David Sutton could only manage 8th, but it's victory for Phil House.